All right, I have 7 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started and call this meeting to order. First thing, we'll stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, first order of business, we're going to actually close our public meeting and open a public hearing to vacate an alley. So Jeff is we don't have any of the parties here for this, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Unless, I don't know Mr. Skirvin, so.
Yeah, he's not here.
I haven't seen him.
Yes, Mr. Skirvin asked that we vacate a little bit of what is actually Michigan Street there. And he was requesting it all go to his side, but the only other neighbor I've not heard from to verify that. We also have to, in any vacate, you would have to create keep an easement across it because we have a sewer running down that street and through the property. So, but it was published in the paper correctly,
Okay.
and
What was Mr. Skirvin's response to the easement part of it?
he was okay with the easement.
Okay.
Because he's going to use it as a drive to his property and to his garage. And he understood that we had to keep an easement because of the sewer. In fact, on the backside of his property, we have an easement for that same sewer already.
Okay.
I told him he would have to, in any legal paper, when we would actually do the paperwork, transfer it up, he'd have to have the plat shown with that easement on it. And he was fine with that.
All right, any other questions for Jeff about this?
So the only neighbor has not responded? Or
Yeah,
nothing?
Mr. Hoffman hadn't responded to me on that. He was, and I know he knows about it because I've talked to his engineer, because he's going to build a house on that
Okay.
neighboring property. It's vacant today.
He is aware of it though?
I'm pretty sure he's aware of it.
Okay.
I personally hadn't talked to him about it, but since I talked to his surveyor, I'm pretty
Surveyor,
sure
Did he get like a registered letter or anything?
he should have.
They didn't pick it up?
We don't have any way to confirm that he's gotten the formal notice.
We get the green card back.
I did not.
So legally then that's something, should we wait on that, on the neighbor to get the,
It'd be nice, we need to confirm that
yeah.
that service.
I mean, I know this has been probably 8 months ago when Mr. Skirvin and Mr. Hoffman were actually physically here together and they talked about it. Yeah, at that time, he verbally said, yes, I'm okay with this. However, we don't have anything in writing and we don't have anything to confirm that he knew about the possible decision today of that being made. So,
I think we should give him the benefit of the doubt, wait on it myself.
Makes me feel more comfortable.
right. And I think that, I mean, wouldn't the easement, we'd have to have a legal description of,
Yep.
because the easement's not going to be a straight east-west. It kind of angles across that driveway, right, George? For that section of the sewer pipe. So we need to have I think we need to have a good legal description of the width of that easement and the direction it goes and starting point, end point.
And I told Mr. Skirvin he had to provide that to us, and
Yeah.
I hadn't told him, it was 20 feet or a 30-foot, easement. We hadn't discussed that, but I think I told him it had to be at least a 20-foot easement through there, but I haven't seen any legal document come back to me to review. And I told him if we would vote on it tonight, it would be contingent on those legal documents with the easement staying in place.
Are other sewer easements 20 feet wide, George? I thought they were 25 feet wide.
25 feet wide,
I would venture to say probably 25.
I thought all of our other sewer easements, but I mean, the new ones that we got down there across Mr. Penner's property were 25. The, yeah, so I think that they need to be 25.
Okay. In my career for other communities, I've seen 25, 20, 25, 30,
Okay.
depends.
All right, so I think we have some work to do on this. One, we need to make sure that Mr. Hoffman has an opportunity to communicate back in writing that he's been notified and that he's in agreement. I think we need to have this legal description of the easement in place before we move forward with this. Any other comments from the council members?
I agree with you.
Okay. All right, so at this point, we will not move forward with vacating the alley. We will close our public hearing. All right, we'll reopen our regular business meeting and move on. Everybody should have gotten a copy of the July minutes, August claim docket.
I reviewed the July minutes and the August claim dockets, and I'll make a motion that we accept them.
Okay, got a first motion and got a second motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, very good. Before we jump into old business, we have a fire department request that's under new business, but they are on duty, so I want to make sure to get this out of the way, so if they have to bolt out the door, they can feel like they've had a chance to give their information. So, Lieutenant Mann? All right. Welcome.
Thank you. I think you all got Chief Russell's report. He's out of town. I was asked to speak on his behalf this evening. I'm Alex Mahan. I'm a lieutenant with Liberty. I can answer any questions you might have over any of this to the best of my ability, but the main reason I was asked to come tonight was to speak on line item 1, the request that the town fund the Lucas compression system. This is a piece of equipment that Liberty, along with other departments in Hendricks County, had the opportunity to demonstrate. We were given loaner, we weren't, but other departments that we received aid from were given loaner units from Stryker, which is the manufacturer of the device, to see if we'd be interested in buying them. The county was exploring the possibility of funding it with the COVID relief money they received. And despite a unanimous agreement of the fire chief submitted in writing to the county commissioners, they decided not to fund that program for us. Obviously it is expensive, $20,672 and 13, but that includes a 4-year service contract, and that is a negotiated rate that is set for us by the county that will expire next month. And I kind of just wanted to have the opportunity to speak on what this would actually do to benefit us, not just the department, the community writ large. Obviously CPR is done in the case of a cardiac arrest. It is a very manpower intensive effort to resuscitate somebody. In addition to performing CPR, and that's high quality CPR as defined by the American Heart Association. So 100 to 120 times per minute at a depth of 2 inches. Their guidance says that one provider can only really provide that effectively for about 2 minutes. The protocol we work under, as provided by Hendricks Regional Health, says that we provide CPR for 30 minutes or until the patient regains pulses. And again, that's 30 with 2 minutes being operable or ideal for one provider. There are other functions we're trying to perform during the course of that resuscitation, applying defibrillators, mechanically ventilating that patient, administering medications if it's indicated. The standard practice in this county for years has been that for a cardiac arrest, we send 3 apparatus, 2 fire engines and an ambulance. That's 8 to 10 personnel, because that's how intense of a process this is. Obviously here in Liberty, most of the time, and I say most because sometimes it's less, but most of the time we have 2 people on an ambulance. Our mutual aid is coming from Plainfield, it's coming from Danville, sometimes Avon or Morgan County. It can be 5 to 10 minutes that we're alone, 2 people trying to manage this patient with all these interventions going on. So over time, your ability to perform CPR effectively past that 2-minute mark really diminishes. You're not doing it as quickly, you're not doing it as deeply as it needs. The advantage that one of these devices provides is it's mechanically perfect. It's consistent on its depth, on its rate. There's early research to say that it improves patient outcomes, but the biggest thing it does is takes that burden away from us as responders when we're waiting that 5 to 10 minutes. These things will go until the batteries run out. Our field trials suggest that that's 30 to 40 minutes, and we carry spare batteries. So really, this completely takes that response down from that 8 to 10 people. I've personally been on a run where we managed with 4, our ambulance and a Plainfield ambulance, and one of these devices. I understand it's a big sticker shock, but in the absence of being able to fund more people, which I think we kind of realize isn't realistic right now, this is something that we feel is absolutely worthwhile and would be of a huge benefit to our personnel, who are already trying to make do with what we have. So that, again, if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them. That was really my intent this evening, was to just describe the purpose of our request.
But you've been on runs where they've used this.
Yes. Currently, Plainfield has, I believe, 3 units. Danville has 2. A few other departments have them as demonstrators, which will be taken back here in the near future.
During the demo from Stryker, why were they not willing to give you guys a unit to have on your apparatus here?
It was just availability of the demonstrator units they had. They tried to spread them out.
Okay.
So Pittsburgh got one, I believe, Coatesville, and as I said, Plainfield and Danville already had them, so they were just kind of spreading them out with the intention that they would make it wherever the run might happen. That's my understanding.
You said you asked the county for ARPA funds to help pay for this, and they were not willing to provide that. Is the TIF money that is earmarked for Liberty Township Fire Department from the warehouse TIF district, has there been an attempt to tap that money for equipment since it's already earmarked? They have, according to the auditor, Nancy Marsh, you guys have about $650,000 earmarked for the fire department equipment fund in the TIF. That's how you guys got your new ambulance, was out of that TIF. I didn't know if
Right.
you guys had tried that also.
Not that I'm aware of. I know the chief is the one that typically communicates with the county. My understanding is the next allotment of TIF money is going to hopefully be used to fund another fire engine. Ours is 12 years old and quickly showing its age. So, but as far as I'm aware, no, it has not been looked at yet.
Okay. Any other questions for Lieutenant Mann?
Does Liberty Township, Ron Meyer, do they have this? Are they being asked to give any money, or?
I know the chief has approached him about increasing money for next year. I know we received an additional allotment for fuel, has been one of our biggest overruns this year. But I don't know if he's been approached yet now.
I know we've talked about getting a new police car. Do we still have any money left in our ARPA funds?
Should have. I mean, the police cars, as far as I'm aware, it's only gonna be around 60,000, right?
Right. With equipment.
Ish.
Yeah.
So, we definitely have more ARPA money beyond that.
I was gonna talk about that later in the meeting, your ARPA funds.
Right.
Especially as we
What
talk
all
about
the
the park. and
things that we
the
wanna spend
impact
it on.
and what that looks like. And you would still have, there's funds at ARPA if you wanna spend it on this.
I don't
That's the
think.
short answer.
I don't think we don't have this kind of money in our budget.
No.
available, so it's got to come somewhere else.
Right, it would come from somewhere else, and my own personal thought would be, I'd like to talk to, Nancy Marsh myself. I know I've already had one conversation with her about that TIF money and what it can be used for. You know, if we could persuade them to spare some of it for this, and then see what, you know, if they can't do 100%, maybe some of our ARPA can cover the other part of it, but just with the enormity of the amount of money the county has for you guys already, seems to me that that's a slam dunk to provide this device from that. And I know, you know, how valuable this device is as a paramedic myself. I've seen it used, I've seen the studies on it. It's not any better than human CPR necessarily for patient outcomes, but it does free up responders like you were talking about. So it's a worthwhile device, and if you save one life, what's the price tag on that kind of thing? But so that's just kind of my thought. Does that seem?
I think we need it, but if we had to get money from somewhere else, that would certainly be better, and chip in the least amount that we need to chip in to get it, but, yeah, I mean, I think it sounds to me, looks to me, as to what it is, it's very important and worth every penny of that. It's just where does it come from, I think.
So if that's all right with everybody on the council, I'd like to approach Nancy Marsh myself and talk to her about, you know, that TIF money, what percentage of that, or of this, can we apply that TIF money towards, and then come back and report to you guys if there's an amount left.
What's the
That may be-
availability on this piece of equipment? Like if you order it, when do you have it?
The last time I talked to the Stryker representative was they're in stock. That could always change though. She was out recently. We ordered another piece of equipment as part of the TIF funded ambulance. But she made it seem at that time that they have them available on time of delivery.
So the batteries last 30 minutes, but here it looks like they only give you one battery with this.
As part of the system kit that comes in the bag.
And, but you have other ones already, other batteries, or?
No, these are proprietary just for this system. So part of the full build would be an extra battery and an extra charger.
Well, I think it'd be a worthwhile thing to have on the ambulance, especially if you save someone's life,
Yeah, and
so I agree with.
biggest
the
things
idea.
these do, that you don't have any interruptions and compressions anymore with this device. It doesn't fatigue. It frees up a responder to do those other life-saving activities on the scene. And Dr. Nossett's your medical director, is that correct?
Yes.
And he's already signed off on a protocol for using this? Okay.
Does it take two guys to operate this? Just curious.
Depending on the size of the patient, so essentially you're putting them in a cradle where this device will work automatically from there. So the setup may require one or two, and then from there, the operation is literally a play and pause button. So it'll just go until we tell it not to.
So somebody sits there and monitors.
Yeah, the paramedic that will respond, and that will come from an outside agency. They monitor the patient through other equipment.
Sounds like a good thing to have to me.
All right, I'll try to set up a meeting with the county auditor to talk about that TIF fund that's, I know there's some earmarked already for the fire department, and come back and report to this group on what they say about how much is available, and then we will certainly get back to you guys on what we can do for this.
All right.
And I believe the chief told me that price is good through the end of September.
Yes.
So
September 30 is when it expires.
So if you take action at the next council meeting, if we would go that route, we would still be able to get the same price. So the chief, to me, when I talked to him, really wants you to introduce it, whether you made a decision tonight. Next month was more critical because otherwise price increases.
Right.
Okey-doke, any other questions for us?
Unless you have anything else from his report.
Okay.
That's all I was told to come.
All right,
All right, thank you.
thank you very much. All right, next item on our agenda, sealed bids for beet juice spreader. Did we get any sealed bids, Pete? John was handling it.
Yeah. Nobody heard any in?
No.
I talked to a couple of people and said you'd have, so.
Nobody wants it. All right, next item. The Indiana Housing, I forgot what that stands for, IHCDA, Indiana Housing, something or other.
That one.
And Community Development Authority.
That's it,
Yeah.
it
Okay.
was on the tip of my tongue. Not really, but. All right, so Graham, you looked through this contract, looked like it was safe for us to participate in.
I think so.
And again, as a reminder, what this does is the state agency got a significant grant or money from ARPA, and they want to use it to help needy individuals with utilities. So a person in town could apply to the state agency for help with their utility. The utility, or this company, would then pay for their utility bill out of that fund for that whatever time frame they've applied for, whether it's 1 month or an extended period of time. But that would be, and we're just agreeing that we'll accept the money from the state for that customer in lieu of the customer paying it themselves. Any questions? Anybody want a motion about accepting this contract?
I'll make a motion that we accept the IHCDA contract.
Okay, got a first motion?
I'll second it.
Got a second motion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, we will sign the contract with the state agency. Next item, Kubota. Pete, they wanna know a delivery date.
Well, unfortunately, I don't have one yet. I talked to him today. He said that his boss, as of Tuesday, had a lengthy conversation with Kubota, and he hadn't got back with his salespeople yet, and his boss is out of town. So he told me he would send an email today and try to get back with me, as soon as possible, because he's very much aware how much we want this,
Okay. All right.
so.
Is,
Sounds like they haven't forgot about it.
No.
is the price going up
No,
the longer
No.
that it lasts? Okay.
no. No, they can't do that to us.
We've locked that in, right? Very good, thank you, Pete. All right, closing on 12 East Michigan Street.
Yes, we actually closed at 1 o'clock today. I was at the title company and signed all the paperwork on 12 East Michigan Street, so
Okay.
it's in the town's possession. I have reached out to Ray's, who ordered the demo bid, and trying to get dates from them. First things they have to do, they have to get the utilities disconnected. They need to do an asbestos survey. That's the only real question mark, is if they find asbestos. I don't think they will, but you never know. It's one of those required things that they have to do. And then once I get a schedule back from them, I'll pass it on to town council.
Okay. Co-Alliance will purchase that propane tank for $1 a gallon. If, I don't know if that's worth the trouble, be a $500 sale if you wanna reach out to them before the demo starts. I don't know if that's, cause then they would also seal off that
Yeah.
propane pipe, and so that there would be no danger of
I
Maybe
was
call
half
it
under
off.
the impression the seller was gonna do that, but he didn't get that taken care of, so we will get that taken care of.
Now it's our gas, so.
Supposedly it's full.
Really?
Supposedly it's full. So.
Well, that's,
Can you siphon it out for the?
we're too,
So that'll be part of the process that
Okay.
we'll take care of that, and move that forward. The only other thing on the property is we've kind of planned to put a parking lot on there. The current R5 zoning does not allow a standalone parking in the zoning. We'd have to rezone that property to town business district, which is what's across the street, so we would need to go through that process as well. But we can take our time with that.
and the Board of Zoning Appeals would sign off on that first, correct?
Board of Zoning Appeals would need to sign off on that
Okay.
first,
All right,
just like any other zoning.
all right, any other questions? Okay, thank you, Jeff. New business, and I got a First Responders Appreciation Day car show on the 10th of September coming up. And I don't see D&D here at all, but D&D usually puts this on every year. Are they closing the Tennessee Street again?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think they'd like to close zero too, so I don't know. We kind of closed half of it last year, but if there was more cars, it's probably gonna need to close zero too at 500 and then at the stop sign. That's what I would recommend.
Okay,
So it's just gonna depend on the volume of people that show up. We need to keep it safe.
sure.
Yeah.
All right. And we have the barricades at the park that we can put up to,
And we have, we
Make
bought
sure
the phones
it's-
too and stuff last year. Yeah. We should have everything.
okay. So we would, close the street just from that 9 to 2, or?
It probably wouldn't be that whole time frame. It would probably just be as needed, to keep it safe,
Okay.
so.
Yeah, we just need to make sure that whoever's putting up the signs, Pete and Pat or whoever else.
I think last year they just set everything there and we kind of set it up if we needed to close it. It was a closed partial,
Oh, okay.
part of the lane.
All right.
But that was, like I said, I think they're expecting more, more people will show up, so I would suspect that we'll probably have to close the whole road
Okay.
at some point.
So what are the two roads, 0 and,
So it's a section from the stop sign to 500
okay,
Amel Road there.
at any moment, okay.
Yeah. So basically that T there, crossing the ag store and then the new shop there, across from D&D would be affected too. I'm sure they'll probably have some parties.
So not all the way up, like near the bank or nothing?
Yeah,
Just
from the stop sign to 500, that's what I would do.
the 4-way stop?
Yeah,
Close the whole thing?
Yeah.
From the 4-way stop at
correct.
Kentucky
Yep,
all the way down to 500, and then Tennessee's closed at Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that gonna affect the bank? People coming out of the bank?
You can still get access to the bank. We'd make it to where you can still get out of the bank. Yeah, that wouldn't be hard to do. And I don't know how like the banks, is it Saturday? It's
Yeah.
Saturday, so I don't know, I think they're only open
Till noon, maybe?
Yeah, we would keep an access to exit the bank apartment for the bank still. But it wouldn't be beyond that point, there would be anywhere to go. So we'd probably put something at the stop sign, so people wouldn't turn there, but you could turn out from the drive-through with it.
Okay.
And that's just if needed, depending on how people show up. But Tennessee from Iowa, or from 0 to Pennsylvania will definitely be closed. The whole line.
Okay. Any other questions on that? All right, next item on the agenda is sewer line maintenance. George
George and me, we've been,
and Jeff.
this is a project we've been working on for some time. George was finally able to get somebody out there to camera the couple spots there where we were seeing, and George, I'll let you go and
Okay,
into
yeah,
the report.
so, AA wasn't able to do it, so they contracted with this other company, which they got out and did that. The issue, the C9 issue, which is north of town here on the, where the bridge is at, I think everyone's familiar with where that I'm talking about. So they went up in there around 80 to 90, and they've hit the biggest pile of rocks. It's not a rock, it's several rocks, there's a pile of rocks. So with that being said, they're gonna have to get, a bigger truck and a bigger, device that we can go on the land, an easement tractor like we talked about before. So I'll get with Jeff and we're gonna talk about that, as to how we would proceed with that. But they're gonna have to blast that all the way several manholes down line to be able to even get a back truck in to pick it up. So that'll have to have some additional costing, but they've already televised it, so we verified that what was said before, there is not just a rock, it's several rocks, so a pile of rocks, if you will. The other
Do they
part-
think that these rocks came from like a cave-in of the clay tile, or
No.
washed down the pipe and then just
It
came to
probably
rest
got
there?
washed- It may have got washed down when the original work was done and just never got pushed all the way out. Cause they can only push it so far, so that's where that easement tractor comes in to where they can push additionally onto the next manhole and the next manhole. So,
Okay.
it's gonna take more work and more money and some additional work, so I think we'll come back on that one. The second one we did was the one over on Reagan, the C1, D1 issue that we have. And he started at Skirvin's property where you and I were at. He went in 20 feet in the same issue as what he had over there. Giant pile of rocks, can't go any further. And because of the way the line does coming from the other direction, it eases up, he couldn't get through it. Now since then, you talked about, was there a disc with all the original televising? I found that, I got that disc, and I'm not sure who did that work, but
Mason Private Locating.
Mason, okay, they actually had done televising of that line, starting at C1, heading back toward the D1. And there are several locations, it's about 17 minutes worth of video. There's several spots there where normally the pipe is a catfoil, the camera gets totally submerged for like 30 to 40 feet, comes back up and hits another one. So there's 3 areas where it gets totally submerged. There's a couple areas where he stopped, where the pipe hooks together, because at this point, this is all clay pipe. I thought it had been relined. It shows on the map that it had gotten relined. It's actually leaving where the joints are at too. So we've kind of identified that may be a problem area, and it looks like it is. So I don't know with those dips, and as bad as it looks on the camera, if we'll be able to reline that, or if it's gonna take a total dig job, come in and totally replace the line.
But you said
Problem
it's-
is, there's several buildings setting
Yeah.
kind of over that
Well,
line.
you said it showed that it was, that's one of those that was lined,
Yes.
so is that something we can go back on? Whoever was supposed to line
We
it?
need to find out if the map just got coded wrong, or if in fact somebody previously said they did it and they didn't, so we need to investigate that accordingly.
Yeah, this is, to me, the second issue is the bigger problem. And we also know from talking to the landowners, there's really high water table in that area, so, and the line is down into the water table, so, which is, coming through those cracks and getting a lot of infiltration. We heard they had water issues when they installed it originally, so.
So on the camera inspection from Mason Private Locating, the camera's going along and then it moves downward and submerges, or the water level comes up?
No, it actually fills the pipe, and he stops on the tape
Okay.
and says pipe full, and then he goes to the end and then gives you an indication on exactly how many feet in that it actually is full, and then where it stops,
Okay.
in all 3 cases.
But water's moving through it, so
Yeah,
that must
water's
mean there's a
moving
dip in the pipe.
Right.
The
It's like
current,
the pipe is just caved in, if you will.
Sure.
It collapsed, settled.
the current map that we have that has that designated as line came from GRW. So do they have an answer on where
I
they
haven't-
got that info on
Yeah, I
saying
haven't
it was
reached out
line?
to him yet, cause I
Okay.
just found the tape, just watched it, so
All right.
I'll need to reach out to GRW.
Yeah, see what led them to believe
Right.
it was line,
Yeah.
Because they got the same videos that we got from
Yeah.
Mason Private Locating, so they should have been able to see it wasn't.
Not only that was it not lined, but that I don't know.
I mean, and that was in 2019 when that was going on.
The not lined and having water standing in it should have been an indicator that
It should have been on our priority.
Should have, yeah.
That surely should have been on our priority list.
All right, so moving forward, regardless of what the reasoning was on the fact that we were told it was lined and it's not, the next step on fixing that section would be,
Getting an engineering group that could tell us what the best scenario is. Either looking at that and deciding, hey, we just reline it and you'll be okay, or we gotta dig it up.
My-
It would take an engineering firm to.
It would, and the concern I have, from my experience with it, when you get a bow or belly settling in there, you're never gonna be able to take that out. So if you line it, you're still gonna have that water standing in that section.
Right.
Anyhow, the only way to correct it would be to lay new pipe,
Right.
which is obviously expensive. So when you've got a 30 or 40-foot section, that's a
That's a
pretty
big-
good section. It's
Big-
not.
Big section, and, yeah, and then you got buildings that are potentially sitting on top of it.
So we-
or around it.
well, and the fact the termination of that pipe at D1, where it does that 90-degree
Right,
turn and then a ascending, and then another 90-degree turn to go vertical or horizontal again.
yeah.
I mean,
That's
that-
not a normal construction.
No, that's
So-
that's what I've been told with people that's been looking at this. It's not typical, and they're not sure why they even.
If
have
you do that, the old days, it should have been a 45. Today, it'll be even
Right.
more gradual than a 45
Yeah.
over a longer period of time.
Do you think, George, that section is where we're getting most of our
I
water
would guess
coming
so,
from?
especially when you can see that the pipe is separated and there's water, and this was at a time where we had no water. I mean, it wasn't raining either, so it's not even a time where water should have been coming in. But if you look at that area topographically over there, it looks like a bowl, right? So runoff comes to that area and kind of settles, and then if you've got a high water table, which we've been told, 3 feet you hit water. What-
you're right. Mr. Skirvin said he could
Okay.
try to put a post hole in, and yeah, he was hitting the water
So that's
within.
very profitable, and then you look at how much water appears to be coming out of that section.
Uh-huh.
And there's not the water upstream of that. You don't see it. So you got upstream manholes that look what I would call normal flow, and this has significantly more. So something's causing that extra flow. We doubt it's the 2 or 3 houses that connect into
No.
that area. So
Well, I know that it's kind of a pain thinking that we're gonna have to pay that much money, but it's almost like, thank
That-
goodness
that-
you might have found it.
That could be the,
You might have found our problem.
missing thing we've been looking for.
Yeah.
I have a question, what, the tapes that you're watching, when are those from?
You said.
Mason Private Locating was hired in 2019 to preliminarily camera inspect before GRW was going to start their
So.
process.
Yeah, 3 years.
How did that get missed? Who tells us and advises us that, we pay lots of money for these people?
Yeah, these were all given to the engineer, and then they were the ones who came back to us and said, here's where we think your priorities on lining the pipes are.
So GRW is that's who we consult with?
Yeah.
they were the consulting engineer on the project.
Yes.
I'd like to know why we went for the big project and spent all the money on the wastewater treatment plant. When we had a huge issue there, I've been on, John will remember, I've been on since then.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Leanne has, I've never heard.
But we did some lining too, right?
Yeah, they've done.
We've
water
done some lining.
Right.
We just didn't address this
The most critical-
glaring
This
issue.
one.
This was
to
a
me, yeah, it didn't
huge
get, yeah, that's right.
issue that should have been addressed, and they had the evidence of it, so, yeah, I think investigating, like Steve was saying, we need to ask them point blank,
Right.
why was this missed, and why wasn't this something that was on the top of your priority to fix for us? But also, like, what's our plan
Yes.
from here? Where do we move forward on solving this problem for the town?
Right.
So that IDEM can finally say, your I&I is not a problem.
Right. That's the goal.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, I guess up to you on it. And I don't know, do
That's-
we want to,
That's the area that I would hit before I'd even spend money on this jetting out this rock that's up there. We
Sure.
don't know that that's even gonna be a problem area, so I'd
Sure.
almost say, don't worry about those rocks, it's not causing a
Right.
problem. Let's
Well,
concentrate on this, and then we can go back to that one.
I do know from, I remember Mason Private Locating never camera inspected that section.
Yeah.
That was the only
That's
part of it that,
And that's what
to
Lisa got
me,
me back with.
right, and, but they did camera inspect this section that we've identified a pretty severe issue,
Yes.
and so let's move forward on fixing that.
Mhm.
In asking GRW the questions about why was this missed, do we want to continue asking them to work on fixing this? Or do we wanna try, say you had your chance, we need to work with a different engineering firm?
I would wanna know why first, before, there may be an explanation
Okay,
for it, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Or it could just be
sure.
Yeah,
bad oversight.
Okay. Well, I know the individuals that were involved in that project, well, Jason and,
Joe's still
no,
around.
Jason and
Darren,
Darren are no longer with GRW. So if Joe comes back and says, well, they just didn't take care of it, then I don't know, but,
I think we'd have to have a discussion about that, but to get a new engineer is probably not a good idea with the amount of experience they have with our.
actually with pipes, pipes is pretty easy, so I wouldn't worry about switching engineers with the evidence here. I would be very comfortable switching engineers. In this one, it's not gonna be costly because it's just pipe. And other engineers may be more receptive or more aggressive with us, telling us how to get stuff done in more response. Cause I know, I've had times when I've emailed and or called Joe, it's been days, weeks at times before he's gotten back to me.
So is that something Moraine does, like you dig it up, chop it, and put a big piece in it, how does that work?
A contractor like him could do that work, but we would want somebody to engineer and oversee it to make sure we're getting the right. And a lot of engineers will have specialists on staff that deal with pipes.
all
In
right.
fact, I
I-
didn't see it on here, but I'm gonna talk about engineer it under mine.
I would really encourage you guys to also reach out to Mr. Skirvin that this is what we found. And there's the potential that, we're gonna take advantage of our easement, and so just a notification I think is nice. It's a neighborly thing to do. Say, there could be some need in the
Especially with
future
the one that goes there.
for a backhoe to be on
I
your.
gotta call him in, so I'll call him.
Yeah, there, if that's gonna be one of the possible fixes, I think it's helpful to let him know that.
Mhm.
He takes a great amount of pride in his property, he keeps it immaculate, so letting him know ahead of time, hey, we're gonna possibly put a backhoe in your backyard.
What year was it we were over in the shelter discussing the whole wastewater treatment plant?
That was 2020, because of COVID, we didn't wanna be in the
That was
closed.
20, so
Yeah.
we should have had all that rolled into the low interest loans
Mhm.
and so forth, that's what
Yes.
gets me on this whole thing.
Right. Yeah, it seems like this should have been a glaring, fix
Yeah.
this.
I mean, 'cause
And it got missed somehow, so, and. So I think that we tackle this, two-sided,
Yeah.
ask the questions, why didn't it? And then also ask the questions, how are we gonna fix it now?
Correct.
What are we gonna do moving forward?
sounds good to me.
Anybody else got any thoughts, or?
That's the way I
Agree.
would approach it too.
Okay.
Mhm. And I'll probably end up seeing if I can get a meeting with Mr. Skirvin next week, and we'll go over there and talk with him about it.
Yeah.
Very good.
Okay, hopefully they forgot. Maybe it was not cool.
Okay, next item on the agenda, Americans with Disabilities Act Transition Plan for Public Facilities. We have a guest here from HWC Engineering. Say your name again, I'm sorry.
Katie Adams.
Katie Adams, so she's going to, help us with that. She gave us a book.
Yeah.
If anybody in public wants a
The
book,
town.
I will share.
HWC.
HWC's been involved in lots of things in Clayton with our, pavement asset management plan and now with the.
Community crossings.
Yeah,
and-
the community crossing grant, so.
Yep. So I am Katie Adams with HWC, and I am here to present the draft ADA transition plan. This document is a living document that assesses the accessibility of Indiana's transportation system, highlighting compliance efforts and charting a course of it for improvements. By having a current ADA transition plan, the community is eligible for state and federal funding. The improvements that are noted in this document do not have to be fixed right away, but they do need to be on the radar and addressed when making improvements on the owned project properties. The first just 6 pages of this document just goes over the basic information, including but not limited to the ADA coordinator, standards and guidelines, public involvement, and implementation. Appendix A, if you flip to page 7, this is where if there was a complaint or a grievance from the public, this is the form that they would fill out and return. The public does have access to this document, not just during the 2-week comment period of time. If they would ever turn one of these in, you just let whoever's doing your next ADA transition plan know, and it would be included in the next one. Then if you go on to page 9, that's just your basic building evaluations. Those are the ADA standards. And then starting on page 10, lists the public or the town's owned properties. And then page 11, we'll just go over town hall just as an example. So the first thing we do is we take pictures of your parking lots, your sidewalks, handrails, doors, ramps, and hallways and restrooms. We don't worry about anything else with the ADA transition plan. Then you will look at the ADA non-compliant issues. That is just a list of the highlighted sections from the tables, from the parking lot, building, and restroom tables. So instead of like flipping through those pages, it's just kind of in a list, and then it's also highlighted on those tables. So you would see like on your building, your handrail height is 42 inches, the max height is 38 inches. So let's say somebody comes up and it breaks or it falls off or whatever, be aware, have it on the radar that, hey, don't go over 38 inches next time. Not saying go out and fix it now. Kind of same thing with the hallway door width. If there was ever anything changed to the building, it does need to be 32 inches wide instead of just the 30.5. So then I did that for the rest of the town-owned properties. Then if you flip all the way back to page 43, this is appendix C. This will go over every sidewalk and curb ramp in the town. You will see like the first street is Adler from 39 to the dead end. There's no sidewalk.
Ader, there shouldn't be an L in that. Ader.
Oh.
Watching the lights to see if you that error.
Hey, that's good, because I will fix, this is just the draft,
Yeah,
so it's
I
not
just
the
didn't want you
final.
looking for
Yep.
Adler Street in Clayton on Google.
So there's no L.
There's no
Okay.
L in
Okay.
Ader Street.
Okay.
Sorry.
So then, hey, that's why I'm here. I need that. So then it'll tell you like if it is compliant or if it's non-compliant or if there's no sidewalk. Then if you flip a couple pages to your curb ramp evaluations, you're gonna see either compliant, NC, which is non-compliant, but then it has a dash and it has nav. That means it's non-compliant, but it's navigable. So it might not have like the red bumps. It might be like the right slope. It might be okay for a wheelchair to access it, but it's non-compliant because it doesn't have the red bumps. Or you might see not compliant and non-navigable. I don't think you have any of those that are non. Oh wait, okay. So on
Crawford
Michigan,
and Regan.
where'd you see that one?
Crawford Street, Regan Street says non-compliant, non-navigable.
So the southeast corner, so that means a wheelchair could not get up that curb ramp. So that's all that is just kind of saying on those. So this document will need to be out for public comment for 2 weeks. this is a requirement for this document to be able to fill the public involvement. After the 2 weeks, if there's any comments, from the public, we will incorporate that into the final document. And then, once the final document has been, it's been through the 2 weeks and into your next meeting, cause it'd be a monthly meeting, right? It's only monthly? Okay, so it'd be approved at your next monthly meeting, and then once it's approved, you just shoot me an email. Jeff could shoot me an email and just say, hey, it's been approved, and then I would submit that to NDOT for you guys on behalf of the town.
On, page 10, item A,
Okay?
that should probably say town hall complete, not Farmersburg. Farmersburg.
Copy and paste is a great thing.
It is.
Yeah.
I do it all the time.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah,
If you guys see any more of those,
yeah.
send it to
No, I
Jeff,
didn't.
and then
Okay.
he's got
Didn't
my
his-
contact.
Do we have this in digital form that we could put it
Yeah,
on our
I
website?
emailed it out to everybody once.
You did?
At some point in time.
Okay.
March 16th.
Oh, sorry.
Um,
Does it still
You
say
wanna put that up on the
Farmersburg on there?
website?
yeah, I was gonna put it on the website, and just,
Well, correct the Farmersburg thing
okay.
and the Adlers.
It's in PDF.
That's
I
fine.
can log on really quick and correct it and send it back out to you.
Okay.
I have software that can alter a PDF, so.
There's ways to do that.
You've got all
Yeah.
that good stuff.
I got all that good stuff.
Whichever way you wanna do it.
Okay.
Appreciate you putting it on the website.
And then we would announce that there's a copy here also, and anybody
Yeah.
can come in and
Yes.
review it,
Yep.
comment on it.
Yep. And then your ADA coordinator
They wanted feedback on the
is
website.
Jeff
Jeff,
Eater.
yep.
Comments.
And then he would just it just
Whatever
needs
you
to
wanna
be,
do.
this document does need to be accessible to the public at all times.
Gotcha.
They just really can't comment on it and it's only due every 3 years.
Okay,
So you have to do it again for 3 years.
all right.
Okay?
Would we be able to separate out the complaint grievance form and make it fillable on the website and they can submit it, or, would that be?
I can send you a Word
We could
document
do-
if that would help you.
We could do that too.
I don't,
I'll just
that might
send
make
you
it
in
easier for
one.
some people, I know,
Yeah.
some
So then
people
they
like
can
to do a
fill it
lot of
out.
stuff online. John, right?
He's sick with it.
Sorry.
Joke, you understand.
Throwing you under the bus, man.
Yeah.
Although I helped at the food pantry Tuesday and he was checking the weather on his phone.
Yeah.
I caught him,
Yeah.
using his
Flip
smartphone.
Flip phone has that?
No, he knows how to do
Sorry.
that?
Any other questions for this?
Any questions on, for, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, is that all, or did you have something to add, Jeff, on
That was
ADA?
all. I appreciate HWC coming out and
Okay.
doing that for us, and it really
All
helps
right, are you
out.
moving on to Lambert Park Playground Equipment now?
I am moving on to
Okay.
Lambert Park Playground Equipment. We've got an updated quote to finish the park if we did it all as one phase. Obviously, I was talking about using ARPA funds to do this. That's up for discussion. We don't have another funding source to pay for it all at once. I believe you were looking at this as a 4-year plan before, and some of the things could be broken out and done like you were planning. The next 2 phases were essentially swing phases, and then the final phase was the remaining big project with the Wicked Wombat program area. But I did get an updated quote. If we did it all at once, today, told them to move forward, it's $128,173 in there. That does include the designed-in shade fabric, the 18 by 32, which I believe you had removed from the last one as well. So she went back to the original, which is what I asked her for, to get an update of what it was.
She added benches in, if I remember right, is that?
Yeah,
'cause
she
those-
added 4.
I know the
6
benches that are out there are old and rusty, so it'd be nice to replace those
Yeah.
at some point.
The 4-foot benches, the 4 of them put in, it's $2,000 to put the benches in. That was an inexpensive piece out there. I'm just looking for a recommendation where you wanna go. I thought the sunshade was a little excessive myself. The rest of it.
So you're out there at 2 a.m. or 2 in the afternoon on a Sunday afternoon, in the middle of summer.
And it's also probably the piece that will wear the quickest out there, if you, especially if you leave it up through the winter and the snow loads to get on in the winter time. I think this is a great project. The question is, do we want to go forward all at once and use the ARPA funds to get it done? Or do we want to break it down into 2 smaller pieces, or 3 smaller pieces, and do the swing sets as we had planned? And then come back in a couple years and do the bigger project. I can tell you, you're looking at, on just the Wicked Wombat piece from last year, it's up over $7,000. So you're gonna continue to see price increases on all.
On that ARCA fund, do we have that much in the fund, 128,000?
Well, we're gonna get close to, with the both allotments, we will have 200 and just shy of 40.
240,000.
240,000, and we should be getting the second allotment here in the next week, according to the, and the only thing that we've budgeted out of there so far is the new squad car, which is about 65,000.
So thoughts? We wanna continue piecing this in smaller pieces, or do we wanna try and go with the one big purchase?
So you're saying we'd be basically 130 plus 65,000, 195,000, would give us basically 45,000 left over.
Yes.
So with that, we could possibly, whatever we figure out on the chest compression thing, still have money to throw towards that too. So if it's gone up that much and we're gonna do it over time anyway, we might as well.
Well, and I've just as an option, I pulled the Wicked Wombat out and did the swings and the benches. It's a little over 10 grand just to buy those equipment, and I'm pulling out the installation as well. Versus the Wicked Wombat, you know, it's.
I'm 52 with no kids and John's 100 with no kids. What the heck is a Wicked Wombat?
Wicked Wombat is what they say is that's the play structure. That is like one we put in last year.
Was
is
it Jaguar or something?
Jumpin' Jaguar.
Jumpin' Jaguar. So they just name that structure but you're supposed to handle the Wicked Wombat with gloves.
But it's different age, it's different ages,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yes.
I
Yeah, the
mean,
Wombat one is more 5 to 12 age range.
Right.
The Jaguar one was the toddler.
The toddlers, smaller kids.
Smaller kids, smaller.
And hence the Jaguar one is less costly too, compared to the Wicked Wombat, even in your original quote.
If we broke it up into two different projects, are we gonna end up paying for it in the same way? In other words, if we use some ARPA funding for like project 1, then we come around back to project 2, what would we do project 2 with?
You
What
potentially
funds?
could do the smaller project out of edit funds.
I mean, we do have park monies.
Park
so-
monies, which is
right,
edit funds.
So that was, when we originally kind of looked at this, Jenny helped us figure out, like, each year, this is how much we're gonna have in the park fund. And so that was kind of what we were talking about. And so that's why we kind of started that.
And if you use the ARPA funds, you would still have those park funds, which are really general fund dollars. They could be used for a number of different things. So you could use that funding for other projects.
How long do we have with ARPA money? Time?
December of 2024, right?
Yeah.
2024. So
2.5 years?
we've got
Just shy of 2.5 years?
time to,
I just feel like if it went up $7 grand, that's gonna keep going up. We're gonna do it anyway, and we've got our money. I feel like we should get it done over with myself.
Because we're probably, looking at, it's gonna be several month lead time anyhow to get this.
Okay, got, any other agreements with Steve on,
I got one other question.
okay,
So this goes in, and then like 2-3 years down the road, what's our maintenance cost on stuff like this? I mean, are we looking at increasing our park funding because we've gotta maintain a bigger structure, or a couple bigger structures? I know they're very resilient and.
Or mulch.
Mulch
Okay.
would be one of the biggest things. In 2 or 3 years, you're gonna wanna add mulch to that
Yeah,
structure. You may have to replace a panel
okay.
if something gets broken.
But they're just fairly resilient. It's not
It's-
like we're gonna have to increase the budget for park maintenance because of it.
No, and the reason why we're doing some of this, reason why you're replacing the existing swing set, for example, has to do with the insurance.
Mhm.
It's really being driven by the insurance.
Okay.
And there's a couple things on the old play structure that is in that question of,
Yeah,
well, it's not unserviceable at this point in time, but there's things that should be replaced on it.
right. Okay.
How old is the swing set and stuff that's down there? I mean, has that been down there for like 20 years or?
No.
There was no swing set, they took the swings down.
no, they're still
Oh, you
hanging.
brought it back
Yeah.
up, okay, I'm done.
But the big one's probably been there for 7 or 8 years.
Oh,
Is it,
yeah,
John?
easy.
I would, just looking at it, say it's been there longer than that. But it's unfortunate, you know, the insurance is driving some of this change.
Don Marine's the one that they dug all that up, and got it ready, so that was.
Yeah, it probably has been, because my niece got
Yeah.
married there 9 years ago, and I know it was there then.
Yeah,
Right.
long time.
Right.
Will that do anything for our insurance premiums?
It will keep them from going up.
Okay,
And actually, what it really helps out is if there's an injury, heavens forbid, there's an injury on the play equipment, we've covered our bases. We have the newer equipment. It doesn't have cracks in the floor. You don't have rusted metal that somebody can get cut on. They look at all that type of stuff and try to come after you. That's why the insurance, at a certain point in time, will just tell you you've gotta remove equipment. Because, you know, I look at the equipment I grew up on and you guys grew up on, wouldn't pass muster at all with insurance today. They would make you just immediately take it out. We all survived.
The leg coming up off the ground, it went forward every time the leg
Mhm. The old metal slides and so forth. It just,
Kids
it's,
don't appreciate nothing.
it's the parents that we're looking out for.
All right, any, decisions, anybody wanna,
Well, I'll make a motion that we do the whole thing at one time. Get her done.
all right, I got a first motion to accept the entire, proposal for the, park equipment and to get it all done in one, purchase.
I'll second.
Okay, got a second motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed?
Thanks, everybody. I will work with the installer. The previous installer actually told me some good information about the playground equipment that we're gonna be removing. Those upright posts are all aluminum, so there's some higher scrap value down there. I was told not to let whoever was just have those or throw them in the garbage, cause there's some scrap value. Minimal, but at least we know some information about it.
Recycle it at Ray's.
Mhm.
All right, Jeff, you're up next on the agenda, so you got anything else?
I got a number of things.
Okay.
Been
From the audience.
working with the Plan Commission and working through Mike Kleinpeter on a Okra grant to get some funds to redo our comprehensive plan, town comprehensive plan. One of the issues we have is getting enough points to qualify for a grant. Mike's a little concerned, and so am I after looking at the scoring. Since we have matching funds, that's great. We are eligible to request up to $50,000. My recommendation and Mike's recommendation is to only ask the Okra for $40,000, so 40 plus our 20 would give us a $60,000 comp plan project, which I think is a great budget for a community the size of Clayton to go through that, and this will help you develop that 20-year horizon lookout, but really help you not only look at 20 years, but how's the town gonna grow over the next 3 to 5 years, the more immediate stuff, and answer some of those questions and give the town some concrete direction on where the public wants us to go as the community. So if my plan is to come back in September. We have to hold a public hearing as part of the grant before this group, and then we would apply for the funds. They're due October 14th into the state, and I'd also be looking for letters of support too from not only this group but the Plan Commission, and then anybody in the public. Any more letters of support I could get would be great. Helps us score more points.
So you feel like asking for 40K instead of 50K puts us in a better position for approval?
What it does is it increases our match percentage,
Right.
which gives us more points in the
Okay.
scoring system. So I want to set us up for success, not put us on that borderline. Are we going to get it or not? I want to make sure we definitely got points to move forward with a project like this. Because I think our current comp plan's 10 years old,
Older.
older. 12?
I mean, they started it in 2009,
Mhm.
so, but,
So it's time to look at the comp plan.
yes.
And if you want to have discussions on, say, water for the community, where you want to go with roads, what are the next things you want to add to the park, what does the community want the town to provide? This is a great document to have.
Okay.
So that's going on. We have a new filing at the Plan Commission level from Dwayne Lane for his property on Tennessee. The addresses are 50 and 74 Tennessee. And then he also owns a property at 5005 South Pennsylvania. It's a single family house that's kind of right next to the duplexes that he owns. He wants to rezone both parcels to R3 from the current R2, which would allow for the duplexes that he's been building in town. The new duplexes he's actually proposing on this are actually 2-story duplexes, narrows them up, allows him to fit better on the property. So that will be at the next Plan Commission, just so everybody knows. Working on all the process to get the public notice and all that with his staff.
Can you have some drawings at that time, instead of just addresses, we get in kind of like a...
I do have a whole
diagram.
package that I'm working on that's been submitted.
Okay.
The submittal just came to me. I'm working through that. I'll get that over to you so you can post it on the website.
Okay.
And then eventually I have to do a staff report, either supporting it, not supporting it, or whatever recommendation, much like you did on the ones he's got under construction on Illinois Street. So, he has got his foundation and the foundation wall set on the new Illinois Street, so he's gonna be working on his plumbing and the stuff that's gonna go under the slabs. So he is moving forward on that project. I was over there today. I walked through it. Talked with the contractor, Brigham Young, that's building out the Clayton Cafe. They've made a lot of progress in there. Recently, the kitchen equipment is in the building with the exception of their 3-well sink. So once they get the 3-well sink, they will have all the equipment in. We have I believe the fire marshal's inspecting it tomorrow. I'm going to be out there with him about 1 o'clock, I think, is when we scheduled that for. I'm getting a nod back here from the fire guys. So that will be really the last big inspection. I will need to do one walkthrough after they put their tables and chairs in, which according to him are supposed to be shipped on September 9th. So they're looking at a mid to late September opening for the restaurant. So long project. Last Friday I was contacted by Mike Worthen over on Ruth Elizabeth Street with a stormwater issue. Was over there with Pete today, looking at that, and actually it was kind of ironic, Tony Marin was working around the corner. Yeah. He walked over with us. It's a situation where we've got on either side of the street an inlet into a storm drain. The piece of pipe goes, actually shoots west towards the creek, 100 yards, and then empties out in what I'll call their backyard, and then sediments wash through there, and it needs to be cleaned out. So we will be getting that done, so. Right now, the pipe is holding water and it's starting to fill with settlement, and if we don't get into it, it'll be full, and then we'll have a much bigger project on our hands, so. Both neighbors are really great, and glad we're out taking advantage. He was gonna come tonight, that's why he was stopped by the town hall last Friday, was to see when we were meeting. I said, I'll just go over and take a look now, and so he doesn't have to come to the council meetings. And then one last comment, working with Jenny here and looking down through all the town financials, we're in really good shape from a financial perspective, and it's been a pleasure to work with you and work with Jenny to make sure we keep on a good financial footing, and I don't want to recommend projects that deviate from that.
Where we at on the paving over at Cooper's, going into Cooper's property? The street.
Over on Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
I'm working with Dwayne. They're supposed to they got a pipe that goes underneath that to go in, and then they'll do the project, do the paving. I hope soon.
Yeah.
I've asked him about it.
All right, thank you very much. Any other questions for Jeff? Okay, George Burnett, you're up again.
Alright, I only got 20 projects on here, so should be short and sweet. Actually, I'll make it quick. The auger monster got ordered, and it was actually out this week to take some more measurements on it, so no time frame on delivery yet, but it has been ordered. The contractor also has been notified that's gonna do the install job, so they're working together with that. So, other than that, just keep working on what we already talked about, so.
Nice, that was short.
Yeah, I know,
Thank
can't make it
you.
any shorter than that. Good?
Jeff has something?
I forgot one thing.
Yeah.
Too late.
Yeah,
You already, you had your chance. No, just,
And it would involve George at some point in time. We've talked in the past about looking at a town engineer, an RFP. I did send a draft RFP out to everybody, and wanted to know if you had any comments or wanting me to go ahead and put that out and see if I get some interest. And then if that's the case, I would request a council member to work with to interview some of the engineers that would be interested in doing that, to help choose an engineer if we go that route. So does anybody have any comments, questions on the RFP that I had a draft on? I probably sent that out 2 weeks ago to you, so I'll get that on the street, and then who on council would be interested in working with me? Who signed up as the sewer water?
I would be happy to help. Anybody else that wants to help us, welcome to join in. But
So if
I will
there's
be-
more than 2 of you, we'll have to post it as a public meeting. That's the
Correct.
only thing. But I figured George, myself, one of you, maybe Pete would get together and interview whoever is. I've got 4, including HWC would be on my list of proposals. So a couple local Hendricks County firms, and since we work with GRW, I would have them on the list to at least get the RFP. So I will get that out.
Okay. You can't make a meeting, let me know.
Okay, sure. Thank you very much. I'm gonna skip Chief Oliphant because he's got bad news for us, so I'm not gonna talk to him. Just kidding. Chief Oliphant, it's your turn.
Alright, well, I spoke with all of you before the meeting.
Wait,
Yes.
you got to come up.
Give me a stand up there, I'm like 2
We
feet.
can't hear you now.
You can't hear me?
You'll never
Alright.
stand there again.
You never know, you never know. I informed all of you that I'll be stepping down at the end of the month. Assistant Chief Remender is willing to do interim until the board decides what they want to do moving forward. Like you've been in good hands with him. I do appreciate my time here. I mean, it's been 12 years, and I can honestly say this is probably one of the best boards we've had. We've been through a lot of board members. So I do appreciate that, and but it's time. The hour commitment's tough with my full-time job at Danville. Every month I feel like I'm not given what I should be given as far as 100%. And if I can't give 100%, I don't want to do it. So that's kind of my big reason why I think it's time. it's, there's more projects that we're taking on up at the schools, and we're getting to embark on a large construction project, and I think it's just, and again, I can't give 100%, so I don't wanna do, 50% job. So I don't feel like the town deserves that, and the citizens in this town, they don't deserve it either. So, that, we can go on to the next thing now, if you'd like.
Wait a second.
Well, thank
We
you
have a vote
for-
to deny?
You what?
We do a vote to deny?
vote?
No.
That's right. We do not accept your resignation, sorry.
I don't
Stuck
know
with
if you
us.
guys want to make him an interim town marshal effective September 1st. It's kind of up to the board what they want to do there, but you have to have somebody in charge at the end of the month. So, I got lots of projects.
So if we don't appoint him, then you have to keep.
Say? I don't think it works that way.
Oh.
I don't think it works that way. I'm gonna be available for whoever takes place to kind of make sure some of these projects we have more long-term. And we have another concert scheduled for September, so I'm gonna stick around and help with that. I'll just come down and I'll volunteer for that. I don't mind doing that. Vehicle project is another one that I'll make sure that gets completed. So, yeah.
Everything's all set up for Saturday then?
It is,
The
yeah.
concert in the
We're
park?
going to have pulled pork. We're gonna be giving away pulled pork. Got an inflatable coming. We have a good band coming off the hook. They'll be starting at 7:30. We'll probably start setting up around 7, about 30 minutes before. So the band will go for a couple hours. Looks like it's gonna be good weather. So should be a good time. Hope we have a good turnout. I do have one other update on a project. I do have the phone and the phone line for the park. So I'll be working on setting that up and changing our directory when you call in so someone can get a hold of an on-call person for the park. So we'll try to need to set up an on-call list that I can configure online. So if someone calls in, it go directly to that phone or at least a voicemail, whatever we want to choose. I think it can go to a voicemail, email, maybe even a text, I'm not sure. And then, or it could roll over to a cell phone as well.
Graham, do we need to, like his assistant chief, we want him to take over temporarily, do we need to make a motion on that tonight?
Should, if you know what you wanna do on it.
Yeah.
All right. Do we want to have a discussion on interim town marshal? You don't have to stay standing for the interim town marshal. But you said Thomas is,
He's willing to do it.
he said,
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
okay with doing it.
Yeah, he's definitely interested.
And it's not just because he's missed the meeting that you're saying that.
No, I wouldn't do that.
I'm just saying.
You wanna do it?
I just wanna say real quick that every now and then it come through town and my wife will say, why are the police doing that? And I'll say, I don't know, but it's pretty hard to argue with the success that they have. And a lot of that to me comes from you, so personally, and on behalf of the town, I really appreciate the job you've done. It's been great working with you, and so thank you for your service.
Yes, definitely. Thank you very much for 12 years of dedication to the town.
Don't nominate me, cause I was town marshal for 1 year, so I'm
I
getting too
think
old.
your training might be a little expired.
Somebody's karate.
Been around on a horse.
Like I
Was
said,
that
I
the year
do-
the bank burned down?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do appreciate this board, and working with this board's been really good. I mean, there's been some boards that have been stressful, but this one's been really good to work with. Yeah, so I mean, in all honesty, it's the last 12 years. It's just the last 2's been tough trying to run 2 police departments effectively, and
Sure.
I feel like I need some sort of break. And it may be a temporary break. I don't know. I like to keep my hands busy and doing stuff, so I don't know. Who knows?
All right, so any discussion on naming Thomas Remender as our interim town marshal?
Can you make a motion?
What would make him your choice over anybody else?
Well, I've known Thomas for a long time. I mean, going back to when I started in 2000, so over 22 years. He's got a lot of experience, through IU Police Department, and just, was a nice guy, well-rounded. I think most of us have worked with him.
He seems
Got
really
it.
nice.
Yeah. Got a lot of experience, and I think he'll do a good job in that transition period for the board.
Would that be a position you would think of full, like permanently, like you are?
I think so, yeah. I mean, you'd have to ask him, but I believe we'd be interested. We didn't have much discussion beyond the interim role. I spoke with him on Monday.
Is there anybody else on the team that would be interested in doing it?
I'm not sure. When we did that initial process for him, in January, there was nobody that applied at that time, but things change with everybody, so I don't know.
Okay, good question. Anybody else got any other questions on?
Yeah, would you consider, stepping down from another job and staying over here?
That's my full-time job. Yeah.
I've only been working with you for a month, but you seem like a really good guy.
Yeah, that's my full-time job up there, so that's part-time, full-time, and has the insurance and pays the bills, so. This was when I started this job in 2010, it was more of just get some experience, leadership experience, and, you know, I feel like we've come a long way. before we
What's his
started.
last name?
Thomas?
Remender.
M-E-N-D-E-R.
Well, I make a motion that we, appoint Thomas Remender as our interim police chief, move forward with that.
Okay, got a first motion?
I'll second that.
Got a second motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thomas Remender will take over September 1st.
Kids say you were being
I got Pat Patterson on the agenda next. Got anything for the town?
No, I don't, not at this time.
Okay. Well, that's short and sweet.
That's the way you like it.
Just kidding.
Thank
He's not
Thank you,
resigning.
Pat. Oh, one thing I did want to mention, the banner here in front of 4883 Iowa Street, the military banner, the bracket, the top part, that metal band has slipped off, and so it's leaning away. So just whenever you get a chance, if you could check that out and
I'll take a look at it.
put that back up, I think it make that banner look a little bit better with that. But any other questions for Pat Patterson from the group?
I appreciate Pete and Pat taking care of my yard. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
I have grass.
Looks pretty green now, doesn't it?
It does, it's nice.
Just to clarify, she's not talking about just like yard care kind of stuff.
No.
There was
A town
a
issue.
drainage pipe that had been worked on and it sank in, and we repaired from a town
Yes,
storm drain.
yeah, he's.
Just, I didn't want
nobody's
people to
mowing
think
my
we were
yard
doing
but
your
me.
yard work for you. All right,
definitely got
Pete,
some
you're
attention on that one.
right. Pete, you're up next.
Well, the only thing I have is Jeff gave me an address one time of a sunken storm drain, is that correct?
Yes,
Was that Judy's address?
it was on Pennsylvania, I thought.
I'm on Pennsylvania.
It may have been.
Well, Doug and I went over there and we didn't see anything wrong, did we?
At my house?
Correct. That's the only storm drain over there near the numbers you gave us. And we couldn't, yeah, there wasn't anything
Well, actually, the
evident.
new storm drain up the property line, and then the one in her front yard. Remember?
Right.
Yeah,
But they didn't look
no,
out of order.
Okay.
Okay.
All I had was a report. I
All
was
right.
passing on the information that came to me.
well, we was trying to figure out who reported it, cause I.
It wasn't me.
Yeah, I asked Judy and
I'll have to go back through and look at my
Yeah.
notes to see if I have it.
yeah, okay. Just didn't wanna overlook something that still needs to be done. Other than that, that's all I've got.
All right.
I have a question for Pete.
Okay, go ahead.
It's been 30 minutes. Do you have a Kubota update?
Not yet.
All right.
I wish I did, if we really need.
All right, so, Graham, anything else for the town from you? Okay, and Jenny, you haven't said much? All right. Any public comments? Did anybody sign up for public comment?
I didn't sign up, you told me about it, but I had so much on my mind. My name's Edgar Peters, I just came back to town from Wisconsin to try to help out the Mosers, they're on 209 Crawford Street, and it's been a job.
Okay, and you can come up here if you want, or
Okay.
don't be afraid of us.
Yeah, I should be, but.
So you've been
yeah, I'm not
helping with
working
her
him,
cleaning
just
up?
communicating with him, I don't actually work with him, I'm just a citizen. And, the Mosers are in bad shape, her and her daughter, they're both in the hospital. I clean up the property, but I'm trying to get the health department to condemn the house, I don't know if you guys know about that, 209 Crawford Street. It's at, Crawford and Regan, where they meet at. But the house next door to it, there's a lot of activity at night, kids running in and out of it. They're right next to the garage, they're on Crawford, last house. They boarded up the front door with the windows and back door still open.
245?
I'm not sure what number that is.
Right next to the house door.
Yeah, there's an unsafe sticker on the front.
It's that back of that house.
There's funky smells coming out of it,
Yeah.
and, it's not just lead. I was hoping maybe it could get boarded up the windows or something to keep the kids out of there. You know, what they do in the woods is their business, but they're back there too. Also the drain thing, I was gonna ask a question about that, Crawford and Regan, would that have anything to do with why the woods ain't flushing at Crawford and Regan Street?
No, shouldn't.
And there's a big tank under the garage at Crawford and Regan, and, the floor's sinking, so I don't know what's going on there, I don't know if it has anything to do with drainage or not.
If there's a drainage issue or something, could be on the lateral, but that's in the property owner's responsibility
Yeah.
as far as the.
Half the slab is broke off and it's sunk down probably that deep.
Wow.
So I'm just kind of pointing that out to the town. But, hopefully they keep the horse in the hospital. And I don't know what's gonna really happen, but the house should be condemned, nobody should live there. I got the pets outside and I've been there. 209 Crawford Street.
It looks almost like a trailer house when you drive by.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Somebody
not-
built a really nice ramp recently.
somebody donated that to
in
them.
front, and they cut down that big pine tree, and they're kinda, I don't know if that was all you, but it's looking better, just, the town has a limit of, we can't go on private property and do those projects.
Gotcha.
But, you know, we wanna support, you know, if there's issues related to how that property interacts with the town property, then we can certainly, you know, look at that if there's,
Is there somewhere I could look to find out about the tank that's underneath the garage? Like ask somebody downtown or something?
like, I mean, I don't know where you'd find records about that. From, I mean, I know Clayton wouldn't have any records on why there's a tank under that garage. Some old houses,
Why it's there, is that what
Why and what is it, what's going
That
on
garage
with
is
it?
probably built over the tank, I'm guessing.
It could be an old cistern or something.
Yeah.
well, like some houses have fuel oil tanks
Yeah.
that they used to use for their furnace or something that are buried, but, so I don't know if that's,
Alright, well, I'm not sure what's gonna happen with that property, but,
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned, the modular itself probably ain't even worth fixing up, it's so bad. Can't get rid of flies, I've had them big fly bags, I've had about 10 of those out there, and the flies just keep coming.
So what are you trying to do to it?
Trying to fix it up, but the outside was the main thing, that's all, that's what the city's concerned about, they can't do nothing about the inside of it. And, you know.
And he's done a
I'm
wonderful job.
Personally out of the funds myself,
That's better.
and as far as that trash goes, she's supposed to have somebody come, but she's in the hospital for at least another 30 days. So. And, I'm gonna try to get it, if I get a trailer or something like that, I could get it moved, but.
Say, I don't think I'm like you, I don't think she'll come out of the hospital, she's already
She's got a
overweight and.
UTI and a blood infection and a couple other things right now. And it took 10 of, Liberty and Plainfield to pick her daughter up off the floor because she couldn't walk. That's supposed to be a caretaker. and I was there that night, and it took too long for them to get there. Not that night, but I've been trying to get them there for weeks before that, to get them out of there. But I got the animals out of the house, I'm trying to get the animals, animal control to take, the dogs and the cats away from there. Already got rid of 6 of them, cats, and, just, I'm sitting on my thumbs right now. I'm trying to get the health department St. Hendricks Hospital over there, take pictures, which I let them do. And it's just so nasty that I haven't slept in it once.
Did you move here
From Wisconsin, but since he's been chief too, I was here back then when the little girl was just a baby. I took care of her when she was a baby. And I don't even wanna get into that part right now. That's sick.
Yeah.
Thanks.
But I appreciate you guys' time.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
All right, anything else from town council members?
Oh. This, I had a question, because Jenny sent me this, and I also got this in an email. It's from, Laura Williams. She would like to, if we would post something on our website for addiction treatment. And that's why Jenny sent this down to me, I guess. Does anyone care if I post things like this, or the event for D&D Auto on the website, or do we want to try to keep the website more of a strictly town business kind of a thing? I know we have some stuff on there like outside resources, and this could go there, but I just wanted to make sure I wasn't posting something that looked like we were somehow or another promoting an outside business or something.
Can we put a tab in there where, with a disclaimer like that, or if it's on town, it's?
Well, we have a resources kind of a tab on there now for like the Clayton Christian Church and some other things, and the food pantry. So if I put all this under there, that would be okay, and we could put a disclaimer on that page of, these are just resources the town felt might be beneficial to everyone. But the D&D, the whole thing with the event with D&D Auto, I don't know, is that something we should leave to social media and Facebook and not on the website to promote an event like that?
Mean like our Facebook page or something?
Yeah, I mean, we could put it on the Facebook page, but posting it on the town's website itself about a town event like that, I just don't know whether that crosses a line or not.
Right, do you feel like that's endorsing the business versus just providing information about the event?
Right, right.
It's the difference between the town-sponsored concert versus a non-town event.
Right, right. So I knew it was okay to do the town concert, but I just didn't know about the D&D event.
I think if D&D Towing puts on a car show, you put it on there, but then S&V Towing wants to do that, and you say no, then it's a
Yeah,
problem.
that's where, once you open the door, you gotta be
Right, okay.
accommodating anybody.
Consistent.
So is the consensus, we just kind of keep away from that then?
Yeah, and I mean, I think information, well, maybe this is semantics, but you're gonna post information about the street being closed and why.
Mm-hmm.
That there's this, you know, first responders appreciation day going on. But I don't know if that's the same level as just saying, hey, D&D is sponsoring this thing.
There's probably some gray area there.
Well, if I post and it's just first responders event, the town will be closed, town 0 will be closed between such and such and such and such on such and such a date, that's just information at that point. It's not mentioning a sponsor or anything.
Right.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, very good. Anything else?
Say we would have to discuss that.
Right. All right, do I have a consensus for adjournment?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.